Alright, hey, we're live. We got some live iron going on. I'm connecting early. And we got Matthew Miller coming on. I guess we're going to deal with the timeline. It's your boy Johnny. And just hang tight. Listen to the theme from the Iron Show. It might play a few times while I get everything ready. Bring everybody up. Everybody congregates and gathers. So just hang tight. I'm going to be posting links here. So we're just going to keep the music going until we get going.
You're listening to The Iron Show with Johnny McMahon. We're proud to have The Iron Show right here on Fringe Radio Network. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com. We're proud to have The Iron Show right here on Fringe Radio Network. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com. We're proud to have the Iron Show right here on Fringe Radio Network. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com.
It's Johnny Boy. Hey, we're down here, and not everybody is connected, so not everybody is connected. We're setting up, so I'm just gonna let the music play over and over and over again until we get fired up here. So we're setting up here, so be patient and kick back for some Iron Show music here. With yours truly on guitar. I wrote that song. It's called Johnny Rainbow. You'll hear some Skype connecting sounds. You'll hear Matthew fire up. You'll hear some setting up stuff. This is kind of a weird way to do it, but I wanted to have a live link for everybody, so everybody's got a live link they can check out right now. So this will all be trimmed off the final edition, but yeah, you're gonna hear the whole setup of the show is gonna be live. So.
You're listening to The Iron Show with Johnny McMahon. We're proud to have The Iron Show right here on Fringe Radio Network. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com.
Alright, we're setting up here. Getting all set up. So it's going to be kind of pretty rough here. So stay tuned, kick back. I set up the live feed early, so we're gonna be hooking up with Skype. So it's all gonna be a live setup. So have patience. Alright, I'm calling Matthew Miller right now. Alright. Are you there?
Alright.
Oh yeah. Kind of weak.
Ready.
Sound kind of weak. Did somebody shrink you?
No, I shouldn't sound weak.
Yeah, you sound really, really, really weak.
Well, your music sounds really weak. There you go. Here.
Okay, I'll keep it on low. Are you sure that you can't do anything
just
about
a
your
second.
volume?
I'm checking.
Okay.
How about now? Okay, let me go to settings.
How's your microphone volume?
I'm getting at it right now.
Oh, you're looking better on the level. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add Janine.
Okay, I got mine. Alright, and I've got mine set to high now.
All right. Okay, you're good. Yeah, you're golden. Okay, let me get. I guess I'll get John Gomez. Actually, I'll get Janine first because she's having
get
trouble.
Janine.
Probably she's new. All right. Okay, we're adding Janine to the call. All right. All right. Hey, you're listening. Are you there?
I am there. I am here. Are you?
Right on. Can you get any louder?
I don't know if I can.
Did you choke up on the microphone?
No, I'm using a wireless headset.
Okay, you're good now.
Okay.
All right. I got to keep the music going, or else the feed will cut us off. But detect silence. So, all right, you're listening to a
No
special.
problem.
Listening to a special edition of Iron Show Live. We got Matthew Miller, and for the first time, Janine Hess, and we're doing a live setup. So, bear with us. I'm going to add John Gomez to the call here. So hang tight. Okay, adding to the call. Alright, I'm gonna get my headphones on. So I can hear everything.
What's up, everybody?
All right, there he is. We got John Gomez. Looks like we got the first crew.
Yeah.
We got the full crew. Hang on, let me type in. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. All right. All right, here we go. Good evening, man.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready, baby. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2,
Let's do this.
1, 2, 3 here. Hang on, let me get back.
You're listening to The Iron Show.
Wait, try that again.
You're listening to The Iron Show with Johnny McMahon. We're proud to have The Iron Show right here on Fringe Radio Network. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com.
Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend.
Dr. Future. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. That's the one I wanted. La 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 la. Oh, yes. I would like to welcome everyone to a very special edition of Iron Show Live! And we are live, and we are in your ear! And we are down here with Matthew Miller. Hi, Matthew.
Hello. What's up?
Oh, yeah! All right. We're down here with Matthew Miller, and we are also here with John Gomez. Hi, John.
Hola, muchacho.
And you sure blew that intro. I thought, come on now, you're never gonna make it in. You're never gonna make it in Hollywood. All right, and for the very first time on the Iron Show, we have Janine Hess. Are you there?
Oh, Johnny, I'm here.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here on Iron Show Live. So nice to have you. All right, enough of that. All right, we are down here, and you know what? I'm not quite sure what we're going to talk about tonight. Let's have Matthew fill us in. What are we going to be dealing with on this Iron Show special edition?
This Iron Show, we're going where no one has ever gone before. The Tribulation Timeline.
Whoa.
So, we are going to be looking at it not through the eyes of the world. We're going to be looking through the eyes of the bridal procession. So, it's probably going to take everybody by surprise. And you're going to be expecting to hear terms you're not going to hear anything about here. So, I put up a timeline. I had a bunch of response to it, people asking me questions that don't even exist on that timeline. So I took it down. I decided to put a little bit more explanation to it, and then predicated it with a link to Johnny's show that they could listen to that and try to understand exactly where we was coming from. And that led into a bunch of comments on the picture, which led to well, this needs to be done. We need to know where we're going. We need to know what's going to happen, who's involved, why it's going to happen, because 99% of the biblical scriptures dealing with that timeline, people will read those chapters and have absolutely no idea what God's talking about. They'll think that he's just speaking about who knows what. But when you put it on this timeline and put it into perspective, all of a sudden those questions are answered because, oh, that chapter was written because of this. That was the thought in mind. So, with that in mind, let's just ask John Gomez, did you take a look at the updated timeline that I posted? I added things for more clarity, and I'm hoping that you're able to see a whole lot more, and we're certainly going to get Mrs. Hess's thoughts on it too, to make sure that I put enough on there, because it really is limited to space, but I tried to put as much on there bridally speaking as I could. So, John, was that a better version than the first one? Yay or nay?
Hey, before he answers, let me tell everybody that I'm going to go ahead and put this picture, with your permission, in the show notes at Fringe Radio Network. If you go there to Iron Show Live, if you go to the page where you'll find this download, that'd be it'd be Fringe Radio Network /category/iron. That's Fringe Radio Network /category/iron. Once again, Fringe Radio Network /category/iron. Click on this episode, and it'll take you to the page of this episode. This image will be in the show notes. Also, if you go to my page on Facebook, it is facebook.com/goodboyjohnny, all one word. Facebook.com/goodboyjohnny. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted everybody to know that we're looking at an image, and it's got your 2,300 days. You've got everything divided up into weeks and days, and I just want everybody to know what we're talking about before we go on. So go ahead. Maybe you should repeat the question. I probably threw John off.
All right. Yeah, it's good to get everything thrown over there on the show notes page. That's where people will probably find it. But this is a timeline. I've put together a timeline, divided it up in exactly the same way that the angel Gabriel divided it up for the Lord's servant Daniel. So it's missing all the things that you want to see, because the book of Daniel is exclusively concerned whenever Gabriel speaks. He is only concerned with the cleansing of the heavens, them being put back in order. That's why the 1,260 days is never mentioned therein. So I put this timeline together so you can plainly see why he did it the way he did it. Because Gabriel is very concerned with getting the bad boys out of the bunch. Once 1/3 of the stars fall, then they try to reascend, of course, and Michael certifies their ejection from the heavenlies there on out. They are stranded here. They cannot go back up Jacob's ladder. So this is what this timeline is for. So take note. If you follow that link for that special edition that Johnny and I and John Gomez did last night or the night before, I can't remember which. If you go there, you'll begin to understand that most people will say that this is a first part of the tribulation timeline. So it's only dealing with the events before the midpoint to the tribulation. And it is entirely concerning both the heavenly realm and with the bridal procession. Now, what does that mean? That means just Christians. So I'm not concerned. This timeline has nothing to do with, the false prophet beating up on people and all that stuff. All of those things are going to take place and is important to add to this timeline. But as you get that picture from Johnny, it is the dimensions of a Facebook cover photo, so that really restricts what I can put on there. And it's best to divide things. If we look at the lens with what the bride is concerned with first, then perhaps later on we'll do another timeline that concerns with the worldly events. That one is probably the one that you're most familiar with. So, John, did I do a better job on this timeline? Did I add enough so that, for clarity's sake, at least to help you understand why there is 2,300 days? I hope I at least did that. So let's get your comments, and then we will fall back upon the great, wonderful riches of Mrs. Hess's opinion after yours.
All right. Well, to be honest, if I hadn't really read the Bible and just kind of gone through commentaries, I would have no clue what your timeline would even be pointing to, because the way they talk about it, they kind of throw all the 7 years and 7.5 years, all the, I guess you could say, the tribulation models. They throw them around too much, and it confuses the heck out of people, and it confused me too. But yeah, this looks like the time right before the tribulation trigger. Well, this, where Game On, it looks like that is the tribulation trigger. But honestly, I have to look into this a little more, but yeah, I can't really say too much.
Okay, good stuff. So you'd say yes, this is better than the prior one, or not?
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, all right, and let's get Janine's opinion about it. Did you take a look at it? And I'm pretty sure you saw the one that I had before. Is this one a better version? Did I at least do a better job on this one than the last one?
I believe so. I didn't have a chance to study the other one that much because I think I saw it when I was at work, and then it went away, and then this one came back, and I've been studying it now ever since we spoke earlier, and I think I understand what John is saying. I have to get my mind away from that. I didn't think I was still dealing with that whole rapture, worldly, Antichrist, New World Order paradigm. But once I put that aside and look at this as just the bride, yeah, I get it.
Well, good. Wow, I got somewhere, Johnny. Have you even had a chance to look at it, Johnny? Now,
Mute
the
button,
Game On,
yeah.
you'll see.
Oh, go ahead.
You'll take note that what they're talking about, the tribulation trigger, that is at the end of this timeline. The tribulation trigger, the great day of he who sits upon the throne, is actually at the end of this. So that's what the dividing line is the great day of he who sits upon the throne. So Rosh Hashanah 2015, this is when the 7 years actually start. So this is the first part, which would immediately make Johnny throw in here and say, oh, this is a pre-trib timeline, which would be correct. But so Johnny, your thoughts on the timeline? Did it do a good job, or no? You're lost in La La Land.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm lost unless you put it up next to a traditional "What Happens to the World" timeline.
I see, which makes perfect sense because,
Right.
well, like John Gomez says, there's 550,000 version of those.
Right, but I mean, is the timing the same? I mean, the beginning and the end, pretty much.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Their timeline would begin at Game On. Their timeline begins Rosh Hashanah 2015, when that is not. That's not why the book of Zechariah was written. We were supposed to know. Well, it helps when you look at how this is divided out. It is quite clear that what Gabriel was concerned with was the bad boys being replaced. He was looking to a time when the heavenlies would be put back in order. That's what this is all about. So if we were going to put a second timeline to this, the last 1,260 days. If we were going to use this perspective, we would have to use the perspective of what is in heaven. So we would have to, of course, go off Revelation chapter 14. That's where that timeline would begin. And just take note, ladies and gentlemen, that I got to tell you this up front. Now, I know that John Gomez and Miss Hess already knows it, but you need to understand that Revelation chapter 7 all the way to Revelation chapter 14, that is between the two timelines. It's in the time when time goes topsy-turvy, when there is war in heaven, and we are sent back to the days of Noah per the Lord Jesus Christ's own words. Literally, that means we're going to get kicked off our axis, and the dimensions of this very planet will be expanded to the royal count. Whether I have time to discuss this or not, I have many times, very technically, but what's going to happen is we're going to expand by 1/7 of our diameter. When that happens, our axis will go up to a 0 degrees, and that will kick off the reason why the Bible talks about a year only being 360 days, because it is going to be because we are going to speed up in our trajectory around the center of our solar system, which you call the sun. At that time, the sun will no longer be on a 7-degree axial tilt. It will come up to a 0-degree axis as well, and the entire solar system will fall exactly on the orbital plane, which will immediately release drag from us, and we will speed up so that our year is exactly 360 days. And not only that, when this happens, of course, mechanically, the same thing would happen with clock gears. When that happens, 1/3 will be wiped off of our hourly precession. So from that time forward, we will have 18-hour days. We will have a 9 at night and a perfect 9 during the day, which is going to create, a rather perfect array in the heavens. This will be perfect not only for the day calendar, it will also mean it will be perfect for the sidereal calendar. And please take note that the difference between the hour year is that we spin around in 24-hour times increments, and then we count off that same precession throughout the whole year. But sidereally, that's a different year. It's when the sun rises in a particular spot along the ecliptic yearly. So this is what Gabriel was expecting. He wanted things to be put back in order in their proper place, and he wanted something to be done so that the heavens could be cleansed, so that the fallen could be ejected, and they be somehow replaced, and he was longing for that. This, of course, is why it was the angel Gabriel that come unto the family of Joseph and his wife, of course, Mary, to tell them of the first of the Emmanuel batch, the first of the, like I was discussing here on the social networking site, I put up that Greek phrase there from what you know to be the discussion concerning Hannah, or Anna in the Greek, as some New Testament has it there in Luke chapter 2. It's the same exact name. You'll take note that when she prayed for Samuel, you take that phrase, it literally means the God-child of the tribulation. So very prophetically, there was a reason why the very last judge was the very first prophet. You're supposed to be able to see this tie-in with the Mosheim, those that are the first, the heavenly batch of the 144,000. So without getting too technical, that helps people understand this timeline. You could literally call this Gabriel's timeline. This is what he's hoping for right here. And this is why it is divided up and has everything to do with, of course, that infamous phrase, 2 years and under. That's what this has to do with. Literally 2,300 days is just a cycle of 2 years in a birth cycle is what it is. And that's what he was hoping for. And this is, like I said, this is the whole reason why this was the particular angel used to deliver the message of the first of the Emmanuel, the first of those children. So, at any rate, I don't want to get too technical, but just looking here, of course, the very first thing that people want to know is, what is 1,290 days? What is it? It doesn't make any sense. Why that number? It's so random. It's not an equal number of days. It doesn't make any sense with months. This number literally doesn't make any sense, and that's why people go round and round and round, chasing their own tails, because they fail to realize this is quite simply 2 years and under, reminding you of the slaughter of the innocents, not only causing the Exodus event, but also that very same situation caused the Exodus event of the royal family. Of course, Gabriel come down and told Joseph to gather up his wife and the child and go unto where? That's right, Egypt. And let me say this. If you do the logistical calculations for that, you'll realize that it's a well-common historical known fact that with a baggage train with women and children and necessities, you can travel 20 miles a day. So literally, it took Joseph and his family exactly 10 days to get to the borders of Egypt. So that was very prophetic as well. You're supposed to see that all ties in and is very important. So the first thing that people want to know, why is there this first 40 weeks right after Rosh Hashanah? Well, you have to take note that it's right here that the riders ride for glory. And literally speaking, we're going to be able to see this if we work in hospitals, because you're going to see a crash in the birth rates. Of course, they're not going to be able to prove anything until after 9 months, because there will literally be no babies being born right at the beginning of the first birth cycle there. So 40 weeks will be a barren time for the womb. This is why the Bible talks about the Lord closing the matrix, as the King James Version puts it. And it is during this time that, of course, the daughters of Zion will begin to cry out, just like Anna did there in 1 Samuel. They will begin to do this very thing. And, of course, what will become of their prayers is going to be what is described in Isaiah chapter 30. And I could just keep listing them on and on and on. But at the end of the day, this is why the book of Obadiah was written. Their children will literally become primus numerus. That's what I use for the Latin term I have for decades now. But its Hebraic term is, of course, the Mosheim. There it is, literally Moses's plural. That's what it's talking about. So, with that in mind, you look at this timeline, you're like, oh my goodness, that's why there's 2,300 days. Of course, everybody wants to know why that first birth cycle. Because right now, even as we speak, me and Brian just did 3 episodes on this very thing, the 2,300 day count. And everybody needs to realize in their mind that Hanukkah 2012 was magically, of course, exactly 1,010 days from Rosh Hashanah 2015. And it was at that time that during Hanukkah, their day 8th, it was November 29th that they announced it, and it took them until Hanukkah to get all the plaques in all the UN buildings changed to state, from that point on, the state of Palestine. The land has been divided. It's already official, and nobody done anything about it. I don't think anybody even talked about it but Brian and I. So with that in mind, that's the reason why these days are divided the way they are. You're supposed to know and see it coming. And this is exactly why during this same exact time, probably the most publicized comet in all of history, I did a video on it, of course, because the path of Comet Ison was going to go straight up the neck of Serpentarius there in the sign of the restrainer. So literally, the Shamash candle for Hanukkah was blown out as Comet Ison was obliterated by the sun in its path around it. So, boy, I just did a whole lot of spill there, but everybody needs to ask questions and everybody needs to talk because probably by now I'm about 4 or 5 stories above most people's heads. So let me take a break and let's let Janine talk. How about that? Janine, what do you think is the best thing to talk about, or what's your questions that you have particularly for this timeline?
Well, I'm still studying it. You sent me on a quest into Asaph, Psalm 73, and then Hosea, and then I got really into the weeds in Numbers. I really went in. You said something earlier about Korah's rebellion, which is something that I really hadn't thought much about before until today. And this whole aspect of looking at this timeline and looking at things from the perspective of the bride. For so many years, so many of us have been indoctrinated with this worldly thing that we're just all going to be one big pool of people, and that maybe some of us are going to get snatched out of here and the rest are left to their own devices and good luck, pal. And it's not like that. And so then I went back and I read Korah's rebellion in connection with being in the wilderness. I know I'm looking way ahead, getting ahead of myself. But that was fascinating. One of the things that I noticed when I was looking through the Blue Letter Bible was they were talking about Korah and how the men with the incense pans were burnt up. And then the plague started. And in there it said that of the numbers of men that were killed were 14,700. And in my Blue Letter Bible, when I clicked on the link for 14,700, the name that it popped up was Jesus. And I have no idea what that means.
You have no idea what that means.
No, I was just, what? I was floored. So long-winded way of asking you what's the significant, is that right? Does that really what that said?
Well, that's not technically what it said, but for some reason, you stumbled across the simple fact that somebody knew what it said.
It said, but those who died by the plague were 14,700, besides those who died on account of Korah. And I click on that, 14,700, right, and it comes right up to Jesus.
Well, I am so very sorry to put it to you like this. And I wish I didn't have to.
Okay.
But who on earth do you think is going to betray you during those 1,290 days?
I never thought about it. My brothers, my sisters, my children, I suppose.
That is exactly correct. And you need to know that's why it had in there, besides those who fell because of Korah. You should have immediately known who and why it was talking about what it was talking about. Those that will hand you over and betray you in the name of Jesus. Because they are once saved, always saved. They have nothing to worry about, do they, Mrs. Hess?
Oh, my goodness. I'm having another one of those Selah moments. Wow.
That's right. It is a Selah moment.
My goodness.
It is appropriate for you to. It's appropriate for you to put it that way. This is truly a Selah moment.
Wow.
Now look, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know? Does anybody have any reckoning of how many times I have been sent emails over the course of my ministry had people come in and ask me directly, why is God mad at me? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Well, I'm poor. I'm on food stamps. I'm on housing assistance. Why aren't I taking in and prospering monetarily? Does anybody have any idea that the first thing they come out of their mouth, well, that's what God does for this minister. That's what God does for so-and-so person. Why is this person my boss and they're on salary making 10 times as much as me and they profess Christianity when they lie to me on a weekly basis? Matter of fact, they got that job through guile. But yet, they actually invited me to Easter service. Did I prick you? Do you know what, ladies and gentlemen? God has been warning you forever about these people. Have you not heard him say, it is from your own family that your handing over will come? And it will come. But we know by default that those who claim the name of Christ, it is true. Once Michael is done and he comes down to perform the ride of the eagle's wings, he is required by law to translate you to that place that has been prepared for the bride by God. The same exact situation happened with the infamous Hagarim during the Exodus. Look it up. Look it up. It's there staring you in the face in the Hebrew. It's literally, I don't care what translation says. I know it says aliens and foreigners or sojourners. In Hebrew, it is Hagarim. It is the sons of Hagar. That's what prophetically God is talking about. And you have to understand that exactly what God has said and exactly who God has said is going to betray you is going to do just that. You don't have to like it, but you better prepare yourself for it. So, with that in mind, the only way to wrap your mind around this timeline is, of course, to read the parable of the wedding banquet there in Matthew 22. It's a way to do it. If you don't read this, and you can go ask your pre-tribbers, your mid-tribbers, and your post-tribbers all about this, and they won't even touch it. No, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, yes, it does. That's why God told you. I mean, I've literally had people that claim to have studied biblical eschatology for 20 or more years. And I say, okay, where's Matthew 22 on the timeline? And they've actually got mad at me and cursed me to my face. That's got nothing to do with Bible prophecy. Really. Really. It's just a made-up fable. Is that what it is? A made-up fable? But when you look at it and when you read it, you have to swallow it. And believe me, it is very sweet to the mouth. But once you know what's going on in this wedding banquet, your gullet will be turned sour indeed. Sour indeed. So, I don't know, maybe it would be good to take a look at that wedding banquet, or let's at least ask Johnny. Johnny, can you tell us off the top of your head about that wedding banquet? Where did you think, or what did you think that wedding banquet was about, Johnny? Because Johnny is an excellent gauge for what everybody else is thinking, because he's been through this so many times, and he's been around so many of the big shots, so to speak, that he's really taken in massive amounts of information. So, Johnny, what's your thoughts on Matthew 22 and the parable of the wedding banquet?
Well, I'd like to address that and like to answer that question, but before I do, I've just got one thing on my mind right now, and it's been with me all day and all during this session, and that is our dear brother Brian Ingram. And I would like everybody to kind of bow their heads and pray right now for our brother Brian. God's really put him on my heart here in the last few days. And, you know, me and Brian, I don't know if you know this, Matthew, but me and Brian were pretty dang good friends. I know he's your ministry partner and everything, but me and Brian did a lot of talk on the side, and we had a lot of long conversations going back years. I mean, this was years ago, but I felt really close to Brian. And so God's really put him on my heart now that I found out that he's sick, or actually getting sicker. I mean, I knew he was sick, but I thought he was getting better. But he's got a intestinal problem, and lately it's gotten to where all he could eat is like baked potatoes, but now even the baked potatoes are making him sick. So now he literally can't eat. And really, I'd like to bow everybody to bow your head and say a prayer for our brother Brian Ingram. Our Father in heaven, God, would you just reach down with your healing power and heal our brother Brian and restore his health and his ability to eat and his energy, and restore his mind, and take the stress away that he's been dealing with from all this, and restore his spirit, and help get him back into business, doing the ministry with Matthew, because it's Matthew's ministry partner. And Matthew, I putting words in your mouth, but I perceive that you feel like that God sends us out in pairs, and he's really the guy that was sent out with you. I feel like that's kind of the way you feel, and I know you're getting discouraged because he's having so many problems. He can't be in that ministry with you. So please, everybody, pray for our brother Brian Ingram, that God would restore his health, get him his appetite back, and restore his mind, take the stress off him, restore his spirits, and get him back in business. I'm sorry to break up the session like that, Matthew, but I don't know. I just
Break up the session?
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Well, he's really been on my heart, so.
Well, you know what? That's more important. Okay? And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think you realize how often I scold Johnny for these knuckleheaded ideas that he gets in his head. Look,
what's that?
Brian's more important than any timeline. He is more important. He's more important than me. Okay? And I would sacrifice all that I have for his benefit. So, taking time for Brian, right now he's the one that would be talking anyway. He would be the one keeping me in line and keeping me on the straight and narrow path and directing my path is what he would be doing. And so that was entirely appropriate for you to do. I pray for.
Go ahead.
I pray for Brian every day, and that's fact.
There's a lot of Iron Show listeners, and where two or more are gathered, I'm telling you, there's thousands gathered, that can bow their heads and pray for Brian Ingram. So please do. I'm begging you, really. So, because God's really put him on my heart, and I've been feeling really emotional about it all day. And Brian, he's a dear, dear brother with no ego. He's just such a dear, kind, gentle person, and so worthy of your prayers. So
that's right, he is. Oh my goodness. Like I said, he is greater than I. He's so much better than I, it's not even funny. You couldn't even compare us. He is so massively humble. He has an absolute a gift to be able to talk and discourse with absolutely anybody, anybody from any walk of life, and immediately strike a chord with them and be able to resonate with them. So we are all lessened in this episode with Brian's absence. I assure you that no matter what I say, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to miss what Brian had to say. And what Brian had to say was going to be far greater than what I could ever reveal to you. So everybody do say a prayer for Brian, because if you want to get to the really good stuff, you're just not going to get to it without the Bri.
He's the man. Now
He is the...
yeah, he is the man, and yeah, he's like he like does what you don't. I mean, you both got geniuses in your own right, but you both do different things. Is the thing about it. You know, you
Right.
both have different areas. You know, he's really, I don't know, he's really technical on history. He's the history man, so he'll always bring that up, right? And it's just one.
He is the man.
Oh man, telling you.
Oh, always.
So please pray for our brother Brian Ingram.
Amen.
Amen. And now
Amen.
for the amen and amen. Now for the wedding feast. I've been around the big shots and everything, but never really heard anybody talk about the wedding feast. I know I have just my own thoughts, which is pretty much black and white. You know, there's people that Jesus said that that they weren't the people that couldn't come in were the people that weren't dressed up for the wedding. And
Well, can I bust in here?
yeah, go ahead. I mean,
Okay.
Oh,
well,
please. Crash this party.
Okay. Oh, you guys are going to absolutely probably boot me off the call here, but I grabbed my MacArthur Study Bible.
oh yeah, I got one of those.
Okay.
Or had one.
Okay. It's New American Standard, and I never really had thought about this, but I always wondered, how did this guy manage to get in there without the appropriate attire? And of course, here, I'll start in verse 10, Matthew 22, verse 10. Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered together all they found, both evil and good, and the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look over the dinner guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in wedding clothes. And he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here without wedding clothes?" And the king was speechless. And the commentary that MacArthur had added there gave me a whole new perspective. And he said, almost without exception, without exception, were invited to the banquet. So this man is not to be viewed as a common party crasher. In fact, all the guests were rounded up hastily from the streets, and therefore none could be expected to come with proper attire. This means that the wedding garments were supplied by the king himself. So this man's lack of a proper garment indicates he had purposely rejected the king's own gracious provision. His affront to the king was actually a greater insult than those who refused to come at all, because he committed his impertinence in the very presence of the king. The imagery seems to represent those who identify with the kingdom externally, profess to be Christians, belong to the church in a visible sense, yet spurn the garment of righteousness by seeking to establish a righteousness of their own.
I would view it a
Hence
little differently
the
myself.
Hagarine.
Yeah, I would
Amen.
view that a little differently,
Amen.
though. I would view that a little differently. I would view that as the person who came in and refused to accept the cross, refused to accept the grace of God.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't
Yeah, same thing. I guess maybe I'm just kind of giving another angle to it. I mean, he refused to accept the sacrifice.
it? Right.
Well,
Because
Well,
God gives
the thing
that to
that-
us freely,
well, you
like
need to
the
put-
king handed out the wedding gowns, right? That's given to us, just like the king handed out the wedding gowns. And if you say, no thanks, I got this, I mean, that's the one thing you cannot do.
well, you need to put both of your words together. These are the people that picked that accepted the cross but failed to pick up their cross and follow him.
Yeah. Amen.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Interesting.
both of your words put together.
Okay.
You must pick up that cross and follow him, even as he has said.
Daily.
So,
Isn't it
really,
written,
to me,
faith without works
both
is
that
dead?
you said was right.
Mm-hmm.
Amen, John. Amen, John.
Faith without
There you
works
go.
is dead.
There
I
you
mean,
go
if you
again.
really believe, you're going to. I mean, you're gonna hand that money to the poor person on the street.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
can say it all you want, but it's actually doing it that matters.
Right. I mean, that's true religion, is doing, what did Jesus say? I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was freezing, you didn't give me a blanket. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me. I mean,
Amen.
that's what we're talking about, right, Matthew? Or am I off?
Nope, that's what I think too. They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
They weren't stewards as
Right.
followers of Christ, and they just blew their gift. They had it, and
Right.
they didn't. How could you say? They took the Lord's name in vain. They didn't really care about. Oh, I'm a Christian, but it's not like it was just a title to them.
Well, like
Right,
it says here,
exactly.
it says, yet to spurn the garment of righteousness Christ offers by seeking to establish a righteousness of their own. Ashamed to admit their own spiritual poverty, they refuse the better garment the King graciously offers, and thus they are guilty of a horrible sin against his goodness.
Oh, that's the ultimate sin. That is the sin that locks you out. I mean, you have to accept the cross. You have to accept the free gift. You have to accept that. I mean, because I don't care how good you are not good enough to get into heaven. Ever. Without Jesus,
Amen.
without the cross.
Correct, all the above. So, when you take a look at that parable, especially everything that it says, and put that on the timeline, then everything makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And then, of course, Psalm 73 makes sense.
Where
And
are
Isaiah
we?
Chapter 9.
Sorry, where are we in the timeline now? The
Well,
wedding
right now,
feast.
we're still talking about the first 40 weeks.
Okay.
The first 40 weeks of the 7 years.
Okay.
The 1,290 days.
Okay. And that's the wedding feast, right? Basically.
That's right.
Okay.
We probably should just... Is it alright if we read the wedding feast? It's not that long.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like
that's
to,
exactly
but
what I was gonna
before we do, I just wanted to for the people that are driving in cars and people that can't get to a picture of this, Matthew's got a picture of 2,300 days. Now he's got Rosh Hashanah right in the middle. It says Rosh Hashanah 2015, game on. Now we're past that. Matthew's past that. He is into the 40 weeks following Rosh Hashanah 2015. That now Matthew's talking about the wedding feast. But before Rosh Hashanah, because that's right in the middle, before that is 1,010 days, and we are in that now. We're near the end of it. So you're not even going to talk
right.
about that part of the timeline tonight, right?
Well, everybody needs to know that what's happening right now is Zechariah's riders are patrolling. Literally, the 4 riders of the apocalypse that you know, they've been sent out to patrol. And on Rosh Hashanah, they're going to be given their marching orders on 2015 to ride for glory. And that's when you're going to see of course, the first seals, 1, 2, 3, and 4 pop off in rapid succession, which will take this entire system, this pyramid scheme, which John and I and Johnny discussed exclusively there on that last show we did. The 4 riders are going to put the kibosh on that. And in an answer to that, before this world system collapses, of course, the fallen come down Jacob's ladder to try to prevent it from collapsing, because they know once it collapses, they will no longer be in control. So this is what we're doing right here. The land has literally been divided because the UN has already officially declared the West Bank and all of the Palestinian lands to be a state. It is the state of Palestine officially as of Hanukkah 2012. So right now, those 4 riders are patrolling the land just like is described in the book of Zechariah. So as soon as they're done patrolling, and of course they will give their report, all is at peace and good, and the Lord says, get it on. So that's what we're waiting for right now. So
Hey, Matthew, I have a
with that in
question.
mind, yes, ma'am.
I know you mentioned on on a previous program, and I've listened to so many I couldn't even tell you if it was last month or 2 years ago. But you talked about the Assyrian and signing the covenant with the 10 kings.
Right.
And if I understood you correctly, those are the ones that are behind the scenes. We
That's
maybe
right.
kind of know who they are, but not for sure. Is that going
That's
to
correct.
be something that will even be made aware of? You know, like, is it going to be in the news, or is this
I
just gonna be
seriously
behind
doubt
the
it.
scenes? Okay, that's what I thought.
I seriously doubt it, because he will never reveal himself, although they know full well who runs all the trade routes on this planet. Basically speaking, me and Johnny have talked about it before. He's the one behind the scenes, of course. That's why you can get the slave trade capital. The nuclear contraband all comes right out of the land of the midst of the rivers. That's all located right there. But he's in charge of all the unions for the ships. All the docks. He's in charge of the trade route, just exactly like Haman was in the Book of Esther. So this is what they do. They know the only way to keep things together is to sign a pact with him behind closed doors. Because if they do not have him in their back pocket, just like the king did in the Book of Esther, because Haman was not Persian, but of course the Persian king knew exactly that he had to have the Agagite in charge, because he was in charge of all the secret societies of surrounding and what makes the trade routes, the shipping, the trains. Of course, everybody knows about the big semi-union and all those things. Look at it that way. So they know they're going to have him, because things are going to start to fall apart at the seams. They know this from, of course, the signs in the heavens that are coming. So they know these things. So yes, I've spoke about that many, many, many times, that this is their last-ditch effort. They think that if they can sign a pact with him, they will be able to maintain their control. However, the riders ride for glory. They cannot be stopped. And that's at the end of that, which, of course, why the Lord uses his axe to invade the beautiful land and to do what he's going to do. And that's going to be what sets off the tribulation trigger. So, that being said, did I answer that adequately enough for you?
Yes, of course. But it brought up another question.
Ah.
And it always
you had
does.
mentioned- Yes,
Yeah.
I think on the program today, the previous one that you did with Johnny. Okay, you mentioned the Assyrian goes after the 2 years and under.
That's right.
Because he
Yes, he
thinks they're unlawful, and so then
That's right.
the fallen come down Jacob's ladder because they want to stop him, because they know if he does that the Lord God
Exactly.
Most High is going to get violently angry and ruin it
That's right.
for them all. Okay.
Yes, everything comes crashing down. So imagine this. They're sitting up there in heaven, and they're watching the four riders absolutely wreak havoc. And then all of a sudden, you see, that's a massive destruction and a massive diversion for the Lord's axe. This whole time, they think, wait a minute, we don't have to worry about him. He has signed a pact with our 10 kings. There's no reason to worry about him. He signed a pact. But behind the scenes, of course, he is wreaking terrible damage. He is augmenting what the riders are doing. And then all of a sudden, in an act of desperation, they literally don't think, because they've got one half of their brain thinking, oh my goodness, we've got to stop the damage that the riders are doing. On the other half of their brain, they're thinking, oh my goodness, he's invading to slaughter the innocents. So in an act of desperation, down Jacob's ladder they come, and God catches them in a snare, just like he says in, of course, Isaiah chapter 4.
Okay, so the going
See, so
down
it's-
of the ladder is the snare. That's what he. Okay, I think I get it now.
Yeah, when they get
That's
to the
right.
bottom of the ladder, then they're stuck. They can't go back up.
God kicks us off our axis, and
Right.
And like I said, this is what Gabriel is anxiously awaiting. Now, of course, let's get to the part of why he's called the false prophet. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember that he doesn't worship the fallen. He worships the beast that is in the abyss. And by doing that, of course, you can go into the archives with me and Brian. We've did literally hours and hours and hours and hours and hours explaining to everybody exactly Lake Van and the worship of Azazel all around that area. So this is what he's looking for, of course, Azazel, the god of war. This is why the Bible describes him as the god of fortresses. That, of course, the root word Muaz, the root word for that is, of course, the same root word for the beast that is in the abyss right now at present time.
Now he doesn't.
You have to remember that.
He has no regard for the God of his fathers.
That's right.
But
and he
now-
has no regard for the princes either.
But the gods of his fathers, that term, that is pretty much always applied to a Jewish man. His fathers being Abraham, Isaac,
is
and
correct.
Jacob.
That's why me and Brian told the entire world that you better look out, because there is 60,000 people in the state of Israel that speak a unique language that nobody realizes that even exists. It is Georgian Hebrew.
Interesting.
Okay.
Kind of a Russian
So everybody
Hebrew
need-
hybrid type thing.
That's right. Remember that Georgia is the northern border for the Assyrian Empire. It lies south of the Caucasus. Even David Flynn, before he passed, of course, did extensive research on this, and David knew that the Georgians had everything to do with it. So everybody, you need to put that in your back pocket.
But the
We're
term...
dealing-
I'm sorry. I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to try to clarify. What I'm trying to say is, every time that you see it, correct me if I'm wrong, but every time you see the term gods of his fathers, that is a Jew. So does that mean he is Jewish? Because
Exactamundo. Yes.
So okay. So
and
the
remember who
Assyrian,
the gods.
the Assyrian
Now-
is Jewish.
Right, he is partially Jewish. No matter what he looks like, he's
He
got
has
Jewish
to be,
blood.
because that's who the Assyrians are. They're half
Well,
Jew.
that's why me and Brian told the whole world about you need to go to certain places where you'll run into these unique people that have blue eyes. They're like, why do people in Yemen have blue eyes? Why do people they're in Afghanistan? You'll run across them and they're like, yeah, we're Jews, but we're hiding up in the mountains and they don't bother us. Everybody knows that.
But I thought
that
I thought the Samaritans were half Assyrian, half Jew.
They are.
So is he a Samaritan? Perhaps.
Yes, that's what I just said.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, then why do they call him
Yeah.
the Assyrian? Well, because he is half Assyrian.
He is half Assyrian.
Okay, and half Jewish. That's
Now-
where gods of his fathers and Assyrian both apply. He's a Samaritan.
Hallelujah, amen. He got it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Finally,
Now-
I get it.
Now, Johnny, take a deep breath. Why does it say plural gods? That's in direct relation to Jeremiah chapter 8, where God tells you exactly what's going on. The Jews always, and everybody knows through the Kabbalah what they worship. They worship one of two things. They worship the Lord God of heaven, which they know, or they worship the host of heaven, trying to use them as a way for God to answer their prayers, which he will not do because they've rejected his son, the Messiah. This
Right.
is all worked into the equation because it all makes sense.
And you can't mix gods. You get
That's right.
the Lord God of Israel, and there is no mix and Baal in there. And the Jews, when they went to idolatry, a lot of people don't know this, but they actually didn't leave the Lord God of Israel. They just mixed him in with the other gods.
Exactly.
And well, that's just as bad.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, same difference.
So that's what that means. That means the Lord God of Israel and the other gods, such as Baal and the
Yep.
host of heaven and all that. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Very cool. I had to get straightened out on that. Now, another thing I want to get straightened out before we go on is who is the beast? Is he the spirit of Satan himself?
Isn't he Azazel? The scapegoat?
Right, but isn't that the spirit of Satan? Doesn't that represent Satan?
I don't think so. I think that's a whole separate angel altogether.
But when they sacrificed to Azazel, weren't they trying to deal with Satan also? That was one of their things?
No, from what I've understood, it's where they ascribe all sin to that scapegoat that goes to Azazel. So it's like you're bearing all the sins onto this angel that was bound at the abyss. That's what
Which I thought was Satan himself, because Satan is the originator of sin. So it's like giving the sin back to him. Like, here, you take it. See how it feels. Let's put the load on you now. But that's just something I've heard. I mean, I don't know. I'm shooting from the dark here.
Okay,
straighten me out, Matthew.
Well, the Bible says exclusively that the reason why Satan gets out of the punishment of being thrown into hell is because he gives his authority to the beast. Remember?
Okay.
How can he give his authority to himself?
Okay.
He can't.
Yeah, he uses Azazel as a scapegoat, right?
Exactly.
So he doesn't get busted.
Oh, then he
not
becomes
supposed to be doing.
a scapegoat like we think of him in the modern vernacular.
Yes, so that's why Satan, all by himself, is in the abyss for the millennial reign of Christ. He's in there all by himself because technically he's done nothing wrong. He handed his authority over to the scapegoat, so the scapegoat, of course, gets snatched up and thrown into hell, and Satan's like, ha ha ha, God, I caught you, I didn't do anything wrong. He did all the bad stuff for all that time. So Satan exclusively by himself, please look it up, goes into the abyss by himself for 1,000 years while Christ rules on earth. He's in there all by himself. That's why, because as soon as the scapegoat comes out of the abyss, he's unleashed, Satan hands his authority over to him. Once he does that, Satan steps back, gets a lounge chair, and starts laughing.
In the abyss.
Yes, that's where he'll be, but during the terrible time of 1,260 days, Satan is literally taking a time out. He's letting Azazel run it.
Oh.
Matthew,
So
oh, sorry.
So the beast is plenty evil, though. Just as evil as Satan.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Johnny, yeah, you can doubly say that. Miss Hess, you wanted to say something?
So, in other words, when they put the sin on the four-legged furry goat, the real, animal, this is a shadow and a silhouette of the beast.
Yes. That's exactly right. Yes.
It just keeps going and going and going.
It's
Wow.
isochronal. It's isochronal, Janine, so
It's
you'll know.
It's fractal.
So the beast is, since he's had all these sins put on him over thousands of years, he is really the embodiment now of sin itself.
And he's really ticked off.
Yeah.
He doesn't like us much.
No.
No. If the Israelites thought that Pharaoh was bad, oh my goodness, they've not seen anything yet.
Now there's a conflict in my mind about the sins being laid on Azazel and the sins being laid on Christ. Could you straighten that conflict out?
Well, sure. If you don't lay your sins on Christ, you're not saved.
Right. Well, I know that. I mean, but
Okay? Pushing them off on a scapegoat don't help you.
Okay, good. So he's got a bunch of sins that have been laid on him for thousands of years, and that's different than, because he's a scapegoat. So that's different than Christ taking on the sins of the world.
That's right. And he done that of his own volition. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very clear. This is why Jesus, while he was 3 days in the belly of the earth, this is why he went and preached to who? of course, those that have been around for when Azazel and his angels were marching around. Because you need to understand that literally those people had no choice. You have to come to a reckoning of the power of the host of heaven. They could literally make you do whatever that they wanted. They had no choice. So it was very terrible for them. That's why Jesus went and preached to them, just like the Bible says. Because at said time, they didn't have any choice. And that's when Azazel and his angels were being nice. For the 1,260 days, he's going to be hell on wheels. He's going to be very pissed off, and imagine what he's going to do. You know what? It's going to be so bad that God's already told you ahead of time, you're going to gnaw your tongues and beg to die. But
Right.
God's not going to let you die. He's not going to let you.
Right. I want to just see if I've got this right in my mind. I'm sorry to throw this off the rails. Where Azazel had the sins put on him involuntarily, Jesus had the sins put on him voluntarily.
Voluntarily. That's right.
Okay, I think it's important to put that in your head, right? In your heart.
Oh, yes, all of this is massively important.
Oh, yeah. Now, answer me this: when Jesus was speaking to the spirits in hell, what was he preaching to them?
Well, it's pretty plain that he preached righteousness to them and explained to them the situation and gave them the choice. Now, look, he said at that time, he proclaimed the gospel to them. So, just like I said, in the presence of the angels that came down and mated with women and produced, of course, the giants, as some people say. And my son and I did videos on this. You have to understand that they didn't have a choice, like I said. That is illegal. So God did not go down to hell. He went to Hades. Hades is the holding cell, okay? It's the holding cell. So he went in there and he proclaimed the gospel, and he made the determination as to whether their heart was correct, and the scapegoat had forced them to do bad things, and Jesus gave them a choice. At said point, if they did accept the message of the gospel, of course, they were translated unto paradise, which is in Hades. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, there's just a big gulf there between Hades and Paradiso, the garden that's in Hades.
So we can assume
remember-
that some of these spirits were saved.
Oh, yes, I would say most of them were saved.
Really?
Yeah, I would definitely say most of them.
Were any of them human spirits?
All of them were human spirits.
So Jesus.
All of them.
But they had already died.
Right, they had already died.
But Jesus,
They've been wiped out in the flood.
So there's that was a one-time chance for the dead to be saved, and probably
That's right.
that was it. I mean, since then there has been no dead that have been saved.
I got a
No.
question after.
Okay, thank you.
All right, John, go ahead.
All right. I think this is how I think of it in my head, but when the ones that are asleep, when they're resurrected, is that after we go through our testing, Matthew?
They are translated at the resurrection, which is at the end when Christ comes back. What Jesus does is he goes to paradise, gets all those people who are asleep. Of course, they get their resurrected bodies right then. And then Christ comes when we see him. That's when we get our translated bodies. The Bible's very clear about this. It makes no mistakes about it. That those in paradise right now that are asleep, that has gone on before us, they will have their upgrade, as Johnny and I like to say. They get their upgrade then. So they get it then, and then literally on the timeline speaking, who knows how long it will take Christ to get from paradise to here. Maybe a second, maybe an instant, maybe a twinkling of an eye, I don't know. Or maybe it'll take them a week. I don't know. But yeah, that's why they get their resurrection first, because they're already asleep. So God goes, the Son of God goes and get those out of paradise and empties those and brings them with him. So,
Yeah, the reason I asked you that about the spirits in hell was I posted a post on Facebook a few days ago. I don't know if you saw it, but the question was, where does it say you have to be living to accept Christ? And I mean, I know you do, but at least I hold that as doctrine. But I had an idea. I mean, I didn't know until really now that when Jesus, and I brought that up about Jesus preaching to the spirits in hell, and I brought that up as evidence of the dead being saved, at least then. But
Right.
again, you would say that that has not happened since.
no, it has not happened since because everybody else since then, they've basically always had a choice. We haven't had to fall and do what they did then. Of course, God would put a stop to it lickety split.
So that way you could, and that's how it was explained to me early in my formation in 1985, where the people before the cross, all the way from Adam, were saved by looking forward to the cross, but actually they were really saved right then when Jesus preached to them in hell.
That's right. That's exactly what the book of Peter says.
So that's all of them before Christ got their chance, and all of us after Christ have got our chance, but we have to do it while we're alive.
right.
And that's fair. I mean, that sounds fair to me, right? Sound fair to you?
Yeah. Is that pretty fair, everybody?
Sounds fair to me, man. That's fair. That's a fair plan right there. Excellent. Let's get back to your timeline. I mean, you were about to go into the wedding feast, and I think we all threw you off. Would you like to go back there?
Let's read it.
Oh, you can't. You can't throw me off. But we needed to cover that because that was part of your questions. We can't understand the timeline unless I answer your question. So
Amen
now
to
that we have all those that make sense,
Amen.
now we can go ahead and read that and understand it. And you need to look specifically. Look for when the fallen are taken care of, because this is described before said event. So who's going to read it, and what version are they going to read it out of?
Let's have Janine read it out of her study Bible there, or NASB.
Okay. Is that Matthew 22? Is that what we're
It
on?
is. It is.
All the way from verse 1 to 14?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. And he sent out his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding feast, and they were unwilling to come. Again, he sent out other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fattened livestock are all butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast.' But they paid no attention and went their way, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his slaves and mistreated them and killed them. But the king was enraged, and he sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set their city on fire. Then he said to his slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main highways, and as many as you find there, invite to the wedding feast.' Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered together all they found, both evil and good, and the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look over the dinner guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in wedding clothes. And he said to him, 'Friend, how did you come in here without wedding clothes?' And the man was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, 'Bind him hand and foot, and throw him into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'"
Let's get Johnny's thoughts on that.
Well, I'd like to, could you reread the part of the wicked evil dudes near the beginning?
Which set of wicked evil dudes?
Gosh. read it over again. I think everybody would need to hear it once more. I really think so. I think a
Okay, then
repeat into our
I
brains.
think Johnny
would be really
Gomez
good.
had a question too after. So
Also, Natalina from Extraordinary Intelligence. I'd like to bring her on. She has some questions. Is that cool with you guys?
Well, that's why I'm doing this.
I know, huh? I ask a stupid question. Okay, I'm gonna bring her on while
Fine
you
with me.
guys go. Okay, John, go.
okay, I'm going to read it.
Oh, okay.
Did you want me to read it again?
Yeah, read it again, please.
Okay. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. And he sent out his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding feast, and they were unwilling to come. Again he sent out other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fattened livestock are all butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast.' But they paid no attention and went their way, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his slaves and mistreated them and killed them. But the king was enraged, and he sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set their city on fire. Then he said to his slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main highways, and as many as you find there, invite to the wedding feast.' Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered together all they found, both evil and good, and the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look over the dinner guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in wedding clothes, and he said to him, 'Friend, how did you come in here without wedding clothes?' And the man was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, 'Bind him hand and foot, and throw him into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'"
Okay, in the first part, I see the people that he initially invited were the Jews that refused to accept Christ. Because, I mean, you think about it, if it's God, he's going to invite his children first. I mean, and
As
Jesus
the
said,
Bible.
what? Well, Jesus also said, not there, but in another place, he said that that the children of Abraham will be will not. You know, many of the children of Abraham won't enter into the kingdom, while the dogs do enter into the kingdom, which he's basically talking about us.
Right, and he said in full discourses multiple times that what they did was kill the prophets that he sent to them.
And is that reflected in the part where the evil dudes that he invited killed his slaves?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
Killed the servants that was sending the message.
Okay. So is that a reflection also of killing Christ?
Yes, and it's also a reflection of what I talked about earlier. What the Jews did then, when they killed the prophets that God sent, they're going to do the same exact thing. Only this time they're going to be Gentiles. Okay? And they're the ones that's going to hand over the bride and betray her. And they're going to be calling themselves Christians, and they'll be able to do it and get away with it, or so they would think.
And there'll be
So it's-
traditional Jews, Orthodox Jews that are probably going to be taking part in all this too, right?
Exactly. Yes. They will literally be doing the same task. They will literally think they will be doing God a service by handing us over. So it will be both the Orthodox Jews and of course the worldly Jews will be doing the exact same thing that these Christians, that is really the sons of Korah, is going to be doing to the innocents of the bride.
The Jews in America, have a pretty good regard for Christians, but I know some of the Kabbalists and the really high-ranking rabbis in Israel really hate Christians now. I mean,
With a passion.
with a
yes.
passion. So, Natalina, are you there? She's like, she doesn't have her mic on. I thought she
She's
might.
speechless.
Oh,
I thought
Natalina.
I thought John Gomez had a question a while back.
Yeah, he did. Let's get back to John.
I kind of already forgot where my question was. You guys kind of shot me all over the place. So,
Well,
yeah.
think of one, John.
All right, I'll think
Oh.
of one.
Oh,
The
for
only one
Pete's
I was
sake.
saying about earlier is there might be a reason that this false prophet, the Assyrian, if he's, blonde hair, blue eye, I'm not saying he's blonde, but, different color eyes, would that have anything to do with the pictures we think we have of Jesus? The ones that show up as blonde hair, blue eye. that
Whoa,
might
he's
deceive
gonna look like Jesus
Bingo.
pictures. No
Bingo.
way. Whoa.
All of those pictures were designed at the at the request of course, those in power.
Yeah.
And everybody just needs to swallow it, hit the history books, look it up, and find out. You're going to find out exactly what John Gomez just hinted at is the truth. Those painters just weren't painting blah blah blah. No, they were they hired to paint those paintings. Okay?
Yeah, by some
That's
pretty
what they
high up
hired
people too.
Do you know the Iron Show started on this very subject on a message board back in 2007, and it was in my formation, the guy that discipled me, he thought Jesus was big and strong like Conan, and he was ugly and intimidating. And he had some pretty good proof text for it. I know from Isaiah it says he was not beautiful as men count beauty. So Louis thought he was kind of ugly. I think he was kind of ugly in a really cool way. Sort of like Geddy Lee, that Jewish cool. And I think he was, and Louis also thought he was really big and strong like Conan, because when he changed, when he went through the money changers in the temple and turned over their tables, there's no account of any of them fighting back. I think they were scared of him. I think he was kind of intimidating.
Well, I forgot where it says. I believe it says in Isaiah, where he was just an average looking man. He never looked anything special.
So ugly wouldn't be a good way to describe him, but average would be a better way.
That's what I would think.
Um,
Just a regular looking dude. That's why I think he was able to blend in and out of the crowds when, they were looking for him.
Oh, that's a good point. But as far as turning over the money changers' tables, and really, I mean, it's pretty obvious none of them were fighting back. Don't you think he was pretty tough, Matthew? I mean, years
Well,
as
he
a
was
carpenter.
Well, he was the Son of God, for Pete's sakes. If anybody could put the fear of God in you, it would have been him.
Yeah. Do you think he was kind of big and tough?
You know what I heard good about that, Johnny?
You think he was anything like Conan or?
I don't know.
Matthew?
I heard carpenters of the time, they were really strong. They had to be, carrying all the wood, cutting it, working with their hands. So I heard, could be like a extremely buff Conan Jesus.
Yeah. What do you think, Matthew?
All the above, man. I think that John probably hit. I think he probably hit the nail on the head, because, well, Jesus said it. Well, the Bible literally says that Jesus hid from them. So, well, for one, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Son of God. So, I would say that you saw whatever he wanted you to see.
Right. I mean, he could have been literally looking like Conan himself, but he could blend into the crowd. He could make you see whatever he wanted to. He was the Son of God. He was God in the flesh.
Exactly, because most people will say he should have been arrested for that.
He was
Why
totally.
did they arrest him for that?
He could do any supernatural thing he wanted.
Yeah, he was like the Son of God.
So when it comes to
Yeah.
when it comes to Jesus, all bets are off, really.
Yeah, all bets are off. Yeah.
He is not bound.
No, he's not bound.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's how the Iron Show started. I came up with that, and people literally assaulted me. Just everybody was angry with me. And Rick came to my defense and had a bunch of his own studies on it. And that's how me and Rick got together. And a year and a half later, we started the Iron Show 1 in 2009. So that's a little history for you guys. Back to the wedding.
Good stuff, man.
Back to the wedding. Why
Back
don't you
to the wedding.
tell us some more, and we'll rudely interrupt you because we're like, what are you talking about, Matthew?
Well, I guess we're ready for more questions. I guess you were going to bring on another guest, correct?
Natalina, are you functioning?
You know, it doesn't show that she's on the call, Johnny.
I see her right here.
Or you do?
Yeah. I'll hang on and call her back. Oh, I lost the whole call. Oh my God, I've got to bring everybody back. Hang on. Let me play a little. Wait a minute. We got to fire up the secondary machine. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I lost everybody. Oh dear.
I think I'm gonna have to bail here, Johnny. I got to get up early, so.
That's okay. We have somebody to replace you. We've got Natalina, but it's been awesome having you on the show. We have to do more sessions with you because you're really an incredible radio personality. All of a sudden, you're like instant fame. You have a great voice. You're incredibly intelligent, and you ask better questions than me. So we're gonna get you back whenever you're available.
Thank you, Johnny. That would be great. I would love to do it, but I got to get up early and get to work, and so God bless and Godspeed to all of you.
All right. Good night.
Same to you. Good night.
Good
Amen.
night.
God bless. Godspeed.
Thank you all for inviting me. It was an honor and a privilege.
All right. Thank you for being here. Well, you're coming back. I'll guarantee you that.
Okay. Thank you. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. That was Janine Hess, a good friend of ours, and this was her first time on the Iron Show. Her first time she's ever been on any show, I think. So it was good to have her. Really was. All right, Matthew.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to continue? I think I've just about asked all the questions I can think of, except for perhaps how long the wedding lasts. It's 40 weeks. What does that look like on Earth? I know this is happening really in heaven. I know your timeline is more of a heavenly timeline, but what is that looking like on Earth during this 40 weeks of the wedding feast?
Well, we talked about that on the last broadcast a whole lot. You've got the writers writing, so just take note. You can have a perfect shadow and silhouette of what happened with World War II. Take note that everybody forgets about the mighty Dust Bowl that ensued at the same time. So literally what happened, of course, we have war breaks out. Then we have civil war breaks out, which leads to there being famine and everything is breaking down. Absolutely everything is breaking down during these 40 weeks here. This is when everything gets started. Things will progressively get worse, like we stated, until the point where for the last 40 weeks, of course, literally the God-fearing, gospel-preaching, Bible-believing Christians are literally going to try to flee. They have to flee. They have to go. They flee into the wilderness. They try to get away from the cities. They try to get out of contact with everybody. That's what's going to be. That's what's going to be going on. So we're going to be a part of this. We're going to be a part of this dynamic of the 10 kings trying desperately to hold on to their pyramid scheme. And it's going to progressively get worse and worse and worse until finally, of course, we know from what the book of Daniel says, finally the Assyrian openly attacks Of course, he attacks the king of the north, the king of the south, the king of the north, east, and finally he is standing there, of course, on the shores, and he turns around and eyes the beautiful land, gets the idea, and invades, hereby tripping the tribulation trigger. Of course, it's really good to read Psalm 17 and 18 if you want to get a spill for what's going on right there, both with those that have been chosen and those that have been called, because, well, that's why the Bible says that there in the parable of the wedding feast. So,
Now,
literally...
no, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. You got more to say.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Well, okay. A lot of people like to brag. I mean, I can't help but say this because I'm looking right at your timeline right now, which will be in the show notes for everybody to see. But I'm looking at your timeline right now, and you hear everybody say on all these shows, I'm not a date setter. Now, I'm not a date setter, and I'm not a date setter. But you have a date right here in the middle of your timeline, Rosh Hashanah 2015, Game On. What day is that on our calendar?
That's going to be September the 13th.
You know what you are? You're a date setter. I like it. I like it. You got guts.
Do you like it?
Yeah, you are the tough man guru.
Well, guess what? That's exactly when time goes topsy-turvy. So after that, you can never know. You can never determine when Christ comes back. You can't, because once time goes topsy-turvy, and this time is described both as 150 days, it's described as 5 months, it's described as 45 days. You can't know when to start your calendar. You can't. That's like I described in the beginning why Gabriel was so concerned with this. Why the royal measure is even given. Why, of course, Isaiah 24 was even written. All these things God is just repeatedly telling you that once he impacts Mount Paran, you're not going to be able to calculate time for when time's topsy-turvy. So how long is that, Johnny? You don't know. You have no idea. Because why there's war in heaven, ladies and gentlemen, let me make this perfectly clear. Between Revelation chapter 7 and Revelation chapter 14, we are speeding up in our velocity around the sun. We are changing size dimensionally, and we're speeding up in our rotations. It will be physically impossible for you to calculate time. Impossible. There's no way you can know the day in reference to our revolutions per day, because our day is right now 24 hours. And there's no way for you to be able to, determine the hour. That's why he's saying that. And the day, of course, he's speaking sidereally. Like I told everybody, that's the two ways to calculate a year. Is once off hours, how many hours are in our day, and the other one is where we're at in the heavens progressively throughout the year, because everybody knows that you can see different constellations at different times. Those signs were made for seasons. They're made for seasons. So both your hour a day year will be messed up and your sidereal year will be messed up. There's no way for you to calculate time, even a hint or a shadow of it. That will not be put back in place until, of course, Revelation chapter 14, and time starts. So if you don't know when time starts at 360-day years that are 18 hours in length, just like the Bible says. That's exactly what the Bible says. If you don't have the start date for that, Johnny, you cannot calculate the time. Now, if you could take somebody like me, because I am studied in advanced astrophysics, if I could at least get one, if you'd at least give me our revolutions per minute, okay, if you could at least get me that, it wouldn't matter if the sidereal year was messed up, because I could, look off the one. Or vice versa. So I can check time two ways, just like the reason why the Great Pyramid was built, the reason why those three shafts target the stars they target, okay? I could walk right outside and lay off azimuth off a star and get it. It wouldn't matter if our revolutions were messed up. So either way you give it to me, I could calculate if I just had one method. But when time goes topsy-turvy, let me say it very clear to you. Our revolutions per minute speed up, and our velocity through the heavens speed up. No way to calculate either the hour off of the rotation of the Earth or the day, our positions in the heavens. And everybody needs to realize that even those that are in the military knows how to lay artillery batteries off stars. It's very easy to do if you know what you're doing. So even using our military system, they really don't have to have GPS. They lay off the stars. Most notably, they try to go off the northern star, of course, Polaris. But you can lay off any number of stars that you want to, as long as you have your position on a map and you have a star which you can triangulate. You can lay down artillery fire anywhere you want to. So it works the same exact way. So that's why. So I can't. The date you want is physically impossible. It's physically impossible. Literally, if you know the most advanced astrophysicists on the face of this planet, they could not calculate the day or hour for you, because both will go into consternation when time goes topsy-turvy.
But
okay, Johnny?
But yeah. Oh yeah. So no man knows the date or the hour. If anybody could figure it out, it would probably be Matthew Miller, and he's lost too.
I'm lost because I don't. You got to remember, when Michael and the bad guys put their dukes up, heaven is going to be all messed up. Time is going to be messed up, and it's not going to be put back in order. Like I said again at the beginning of this broadcast, that's why Gabriel come down and gave all of that information. This is when, everything will be set right. That's why he told Daniel what he told him. It's the whole purpose of it.
Right. But you do claim to set the middle of your timeline on Rosh Hashanah, September 13th, did you say?
Yeah, that's one of them. Me and Brian has been in much argument about this privately, because Brian and I both know that we could be looking at a Joseph event. And everybody needs to know this. It's both Brian and I's conclusion that if it doesn't start now, it's because we're having 7 good years and then 7 bad years. So it's either right now or it's going to be delayed for another week. Do you understand?
Which you put it out at 2022.
That's right.
Rosh Hashanah, probably.
That's right.
Wow,
So,
I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping for 7 good years. I mean, it seems like it would help me get at least physically, materially ready. Would it be any kind of an advantage? Or
well, yeah, you would definitely have another 7 years to completely prepare yourself to get that oil in your lamp.
Right. Okay. Good.
And we need to understand that, and I'm not going to go into all the mathematical calculations, but literally the first one is based on an hour calculation. That is this full to 7 years. But God has done to me and Brian a most marvelous thing. We don't know if it's an hours or a day. Okay, so the first week, this one right here is if God chooses to use the hour calculation. Do you understand?
Yes.
So he's given me an A or B, and me and Brian fight about it all the time. And I can't decide myself. I don't know. It's up in arms. One or the other. That's what I say. And that's what Brian says. But we don't know which one.
So you're actually really, you're a date setter, but you're not really. It's only tentative.
All right, what I'm doing and what I can do, what no one else can do, I can literally cry out to you, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and I can give you the meats and the potatoes, the nuts and bolts, to put the fear of God into you so that you will at least consider not rebelling against the Lord your God anymore. Because let's just be face to face, Johnny. How many Christians do you know think that it's okay to lie? They get away with it. Their preacher tells them that they can. All kinds of Christians commit adultery because they think they can. All kinds of Christians stay in their homosexuality because they think they can. All kinds of Christians stay drunks because they think they can. which is rebellion. But I have the nuts and bolts. Give me any one of those individuals, and I will make you fear God. I will convince you, just like John had the ability to do. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's why I've done these things. That's why I've done all my studying and everything, because that's what I was trained up to be. My mother and my father wanted desperately for me not to be a Billy Graham or yada yada. They wanted me to be able to have the impact of John the Baptist. So that's why I've done all these things. Because I hope until the end, when there's no time left, I want to save as absolutely many as I can. And I will scorch my own hand trying to snatch them from the fire.
So it all comes down to classic Christianity.
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, Matthew.
Yes, sir.
For some people wondering about how you fill your lamp, how does one do that?
The exact same way that Jesus told the rich young ruler to do it.
Just get rid of your stuff.
Get rid of your junk.
Ladies
11
almost, right?
Yeah, that stuff you've got, that brand new Lexus, it's stuff.
Humble yourself.
That's right. You can only receive by giving. That's it.
So give.
Did we lose
Give more.
somebody? I heard the hang-up sound.
Natalina, we're trying to get her on, so keep going.
Yeah, I need to shut up so she can talk. I'm sorry,
She
Johnny.
is not here. We've been trying to add her to the call, and we can't do it, but we're trying something else, so keep going.
We'll do it. I'm sorry. I rambled on, and we had her, and then we lost her, and I'm sorry about that. John, you should have told me to shut up. I mean, that's not righteous for me to do that. I need to shut up and let her, ask her questions. I didn't mean to do that, but sometimes everybody knows when I get a leg up, you better sit down and shut up because I'm gonna roll. But so please tell me to shut up and let her, talk.
She is not here. I cannot get her on this call. It is so strange. So, yeah, it's just me, you, and John. Until I can add her, then it's game off. For her, anyway. So, the wedding feast lasts 40 weeks. So, really, what happens at the end of it? I think you took us to the end, and then I wasn't quite sure where it ended, and the next 365 days or 144 weeks began.
Right. That's after that. You will see the 4 riders will be done. They will ride for 40 weeks, and that's when everything's gone. And we're trying to desperately maintain this system that we have. You'll take note. This is, of course, at the same time, historically speaking, was when the Great Depression hit. So we'll literally have massive inflation. Things will just literally begin to fall apart at the seams, and there'll be no reason to go on with this monetary, this electoral falsehood that we've got going on now. There will be no point. And the only way to carry that off, of course, will be with the UN will have to try desperately to get food to everybody on the planet. They'll pick and choose who they want. It will slowly slip into the abyss. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what's going to happen after those 40 weeks that the riders ride, it's going to be the Great Depression. Just look it up. That's how it's going to be. But that's going to be on a massive, literally world scale. What happened in the Weimar Republic in Germany, that's the way it's going to be on a planet-wide scale. So people will continue to try to go to jobs. There'll still be grocery stores and gas stations. But it will just be head over heels. And just like what happened with the Okies, please look up historically what an Okie is. That was the massive influx into California from people that were fleeing the Dust Bowl. And, of course, eventually California shut the borders. It's going to be like that worldwide. Worldwide.
Interesting. So, John?
Sorry, I was reading Revelation 9 right now. I'm tripping out on the bottomless pit where it says he opened up the bottomless pit and went up out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. At this point, is Azazel already out, or is this a different point?
I'm sorry, say that again. I was trying to get Natalina. I'm sorry.
Oh, can you add her?
I'm trying right now. That's what I'm trying
Are
to do.
you friends with her?
Yeah, she just accepted my friend request. I'm trying to add participants.
Interesting.
Just hang on.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Live radio, everybody.
Okay, here she comes.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Come on.
Please.
And-
pretty
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
baby.
we got her.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Hey guys.
Natalina
Johnny
from
is a loser.
Extraordinary
Johnny is a loser.
Intelligence. Introduce yourself, Natalina. Who are you?
Hey you guys, it's Natalina, and I feel really bad that you have gone to so much trouble to get me on here because I didn't have any specific questions. I was listening. I just started listening right as you were talking about, Johnny, you were talking about whether or not there's any evidence that people could be saved after they die.
Ah, yes.
And I was, I was watching that conversation on Facebook. So I was trying to, I was listening to that part of it, and then the audio got all weird and stuff. So I'm super out of the loop, but I thought we could use a little bit more North Dakota on this conversation. And so here I am.
Well, I asked Matthew about that. I told him about the conversation. And the conclusion was, as I understand it, Matthew, you got to kick my ass if I'm wrong, that Jesus went down into Hades and preached to the spirits in hell. These were the spirits of the dead men that had died from Adam all the way to the cross. And they had their chance to accept the gospel and be saved. And that was their salvation, looking from Adam to the cross. And then and that was the last time the dead could be saved. After that, from the cross forward, we have the gospel, so our chances while we're alive. And is that right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. The reason why he went there, he makes it perfectly clear in the Bible. He went there to preach to those that were alive during the days of Noah. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand, when an angel shows up, well, look at it this way. We need to understand that the entire book of Revelation was given by an angel via direct link with their brains. Just imagine what these bad boys are going to be able to do to you. They'll be able to make you see, feel, taste, whatever that they want. It's going to be absolutely horrific. So because of that, because they come down Jacob's ladder, of course, the pretty famous event there in Genesis chapter 6, because of that, you have to understand that they were here in the flesh. And they were making those people do whatever that they wanted. That's why Jesus was very specific. He went there to speak to those people that had to endure that. And he offered them the gospel. And of course, most of them, I'm a Christian, so I hope. It's my hope that all of them did. But I'm sure there were some bad boys in there, just like the Assyrian, that was openly worshiping them, much like the occupants of Sodom and Gomorrah. We are told that God was so shocked that they had figured out a catch-22. They figured out that they could come down and they wouldn't force the women. They would just sit back and not defend themselves, and then, of course, the people would rape them. And it literally says there in Genesis chapter 18 that literally all the occupants of the entire town, that's men, women, and children, came to rape those angels. And of course, they defended themselves. They struck them blind so they couldn't find the door. So please just imagine what these poor people went through. They had no choice. If Azazel and his cohort wanted them to commit suicide, they just would. If they wanted them to, kill their spouse and eat them, they would. they literally had no choice. And of course, we're getting hints of this. I'm not wanting to get off on a sidetrack with the Moon Men, but ladies and gentlemen, this is common knowledge that they have begun to fall, of course, and people think that they're, of course, being abducted by aliens. And just historically speaking, it's different. Back, if you want to do your historical research, there was a time when they would display themselves as leprechaun and they would take you to a cave. Well, now they've changed the game. You see a moon man and they take you to a ship. But please try to understand that there we're told full blast that at the time of the end they would fall and try to mingle their seed. That means they would try to do it technologically. This is a catch-22 part B. What they have done is come down and they've tried to take their seed and our seed and mingle it in a petri dish, but God says no. He won't let that. Won't let those two seeds take root. And yes, I'm being very specific. I'm trying to be as polite as I can about it, but he's literally taken a semen and ovum and trying to inject their DNA in it. That's what they're doing right now.
But you're saying it's
terrible.
not. You're saying it's not working.
Yes, I'm saying it's not going to work. Of course, God says that. He says He will not let the seed mingle. So, literally speaking, if you take a look at it, especially in the Septuagint, you get the idea that they will actually be allowed to grow for a while, and then they'll just have a termination date. Much like everybody remembers Blade Runner, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Where these androids would have a cutoff date, and they were running around trying to extend their date. Well, literally, that's what God's probably doing to them. But, ladies and gentlemen, please try to show mercy to these people because, this would not be fun, and they don't have a choice. These fallen come down, and you have no defense. You cannot stop them because they can do whatever they want to with your mind. And this is the exact reason why Jesus went and preached to those that had to endure the presence of Azazel and his cohort as they, of course, produced their prodigy.
So really they were blameless.
Right, exactly. So Christ went there and said, hey, this wasn't fair, and he preached the gospel to them. And like I said, I'm a Christian, so I hope all of them were saved. Why would I hope for anything else? But just please take note, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to run into these people, and I run into them on occasion, and I don't throw sticks at them, and I don't tell them that they're crazy, and I don't, they are firmly believing that these are entities, from the Pleiades or some other place, and I don't argue with them, and I don't say no. Well, because I must execute the Beatitudes when I'm dealing with them. So, of course, I've referred them on to different ministers that deal with that. Some of them are pretty popular, but I refer them on because, what are you to do?
Yeah.
What would you do if the mighty Michael showed up? What, are you going to debate with him? No, you would do exactly whatever he wanted you to do, and there'd be nothing you could do about it. So think about it that way, and don't be harsh with these people.
Yeah, man, that's a really good point because I obviously, without getting into too much detail, I was part of the New Age type movement, in previously, and I went through a phase where that was it for me. I was looking for these people in the stars. I called myself a star seed for a while. If a Christian approached me with ever when I was in that state, it was usually with disdain. And as a result, I had the same reaction toward Christians. I was not willing to listen because they didn't want anything to do with me as far as kindness. So I think that's a really, really good point that when you encounter people like this, don't presume that they are that they're just, there's this idea that just an evil person who's engaged in evil deeds, and really it's a deception like any other. And I was deceived, and lots of people are deceived, and I tend to believe that love and compassion is a lot more effective than condemnation.
Well, that's what you have there is you are, of course, running into the very ones that's going to be handing us over during that last 40 weeks. You're dealing with people that, they call themselves Christians, ladies and gentlemen, but they do not hold to the Ten Commandments, and they surely will have nothing to do with the Beatitudes. They will curse you out. They'll tell you you're an idiot. They'll laugh at them and say they're crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, Christians don't do that. That's something else. That's somebody proclaiming the name of Christ that obviously does not have his cross on their shoulder. No, they've left that cross in the dust.
Amen.
It's just that's why me and Brian have always called them crusaders. That's really what they are, is crusaders. They're not Christians. Ladies and gentlemen, Christians, God-fearing, Bible-believing, gospel-preaching Christians would never pick up a gun and go try to kill everybody in Jerusalem and take it over. Christians don't do that. Christians do not kill. Okay? You don't. Read the Beatitudes. That's what a Christian does. And if you meet somebody that prances around saying, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, if you stand back and watch them, their fruit is going to be plainly displayed for you sooner or later. And you're going to catch them not acting like a Christian, even though they say that's exactly what they are. And know in your heart that eventually they're going to play the part of Korah, and they're going to do to you exactly what he has told you well in advance that they're going to do. And there's really nothing you can do about it. You just got to be aware of them and stay away from those people. You just have to stay away from them. And I'm sorry about that, but don't start a fight with them and say, no, you shouldn't be. Just get away from them. It's really the only thing you can do. When people are acting like, when they're acting like a crusader, that's what they are. They're not a Christian. And this goes with dealing with, Johnny here of late had an episode about gays. It goes with them. It goes with people that are drug addicts. It goes with, ladies and gentlemen, you're supposed to treat everybody like Christ. You're supposed to try to save them, not argue with them and fight with them.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened to you. And it's only by the grace of God that you finally figured out that, hey, those people, they aren't Christians. I want to be a Christian. So it's just amazing. And it's very encouraging to me that even though the Crusaders are absolutely trashing the name of Christ, the word of the Lord endures. If God draws you to his son, you're going to be inducted into the kingdom. It doesn't matter what the idiot, Korites and Crusaders are doing. So I'm happy about that. It's very encouraging to me that even though you encountered these people, you became a Christian anyway. That's good stuff, eh, Johnny?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I never knew any nice Christians. I just knew the mean ones. And so when it came to me considering Christ, God, the last thing I wanted to be was a Christian. But I remember Louis, the guy who led me to Christ, he's told me to think real hard. And, if I'd ever actually met a nice Christian that was humble and really didn't judge me and was kind to me. And I thought real hard. And then I remembered the Jesus hippies of the 60s. That I was exposed to a few of them. That my mom was a famous artist, so she, mixed in with all kinds of people. And I remembered the Jesus hippies of the 60s. They smoked a lot of pot, but they were really, and they were, they rolled around in their hippie van, but boy, they had their Bibles with them all the time, and they were very kind and loving people. So, I thought back to them. That probably sounds weird to you guys, but
no, I love it. I love the Jesus people. I love, because it is all about love. I'm working on making a testimony video for my site, just kind of getting into some. I'm sorry, am I completely derailing your conversation here, you guys?
No.
No, ma'am. You're right on time, right on target.
But I was thinking about who I was and who I've become. Now, to me, one of the most significant changes that has happened since I have accepted Christ is that I am filled with so much love and compassion toward my fellow man, and particularly people who are lost. Like, I have a special love for people who are lost. And I realized, when I get emotional when I talk about this, but when I look back at who I was, and I would I would see a Christian, let's just say I would see someone like who I am now, I would be so filled with resentment and anger and hate and fear. Now, the difference is the way I am now, who I am now, I can look back at that girl that I was and I love her. She would look at me and hate me, and I look back at her and I love her. Even though she just rejected Christ and she rejected everything that the Bible stood for, I love her so much. In fact, my love for her is just overflowing. And to me, that's the fruit of Christ. That's what changes. That's when you become the new man. It should manifest as just this bleeding, intense, passionate love for people, right? I mean, where does this? You make such a good point when you talk about how these crusaders, as you call them, that they're just. They've taken up their swords and they're just wanting to slash people out of the way. And to me, that's just not it, man. That's not winning people. That's not representing and being an ambassador for Christ. It's love.
And God is what?
Love.
Love. Amen. So it all makes sense, literally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So this is right on time, right on target, because what you're talking about, okay, is going to prepare everybody for that 1,290 days. You're going to have to keep your eye open and your eye out, not only for these people during this time, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, they are going to take the ride of the eagle's wings with you. And it is they who's going to perform Korah's rebellion, just like Revelation chapter 12 tells you about. They're going to be there. We got to be tested. We got to be tried in God's furnace. So this is detrimental that you know who to look for. You know what happened. You understand number 16. Why Korah is mentioned. Why there's psalms that bear his name and the name of his children. There's a reason for all this. And like I said, once you take and read Psalms 17 and 18, you're going to realize exactly who God's talking about and why said things are said the way that they're said. And much like there in those Psalms, you're going to see that God, of course, strengthens them to fight. Of course, God is very illicit in the book of Revelation telling you, now look, you better be careful because those who lead into captivity they will go. And of course, more importantly, those who live by the sword is going to die by it. So really you can look to the modern patriot movement and get a clue. All of those people are all about their beans, their bullets, and their Bibles. Almost exclusively, these people call themselves Christians, which, ladies and gentlemen, they're not. They're something else. They're crusaders.
So you're saying it's better to be taken?
It's better to flee.
Ah. And,
That's what's better to do.
Than to dig in and defend.
That's right.
Interesting. So I'd like to just catch Natalina up a tiny bit, and the listeners, really especially, is that what Matthew was talking about was that much taboo subject, the rapture, the eagle's wings. And Matthew is saying that, well, let me put it in the form of a question rather than trying to put words in your mouth. Are you saying that there will be almost what you would call wicked Christians caught up in this eagle's wings rapture to the place of testing?
Yes.
So there's going to be like a lot of bad Christians, quote unquote, raptured.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just like Korah. What, do you think he was a good guy? Do you think all that were with him were good people? You need to read that situation.
So,
like I said, you need to.
So the Lord is going to rapture the whole church, basically.
He has to because, well, technically speaking, well, look, we're talking about the angels. Look, this is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as Michael kicks Satan's butt, they come for you and escort you to the place that's been prepared for you by God. Legally, they're going to take everybody. What does the Bible say? If you proclaim Christ, blah, 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 you will be saved. Okay, so you got to take it. Okay, just like Korah did. Korah professed what? Yeah, he professed the Lord God of heaven. He sure did.
Right. You know, and
they have to be taken.
Here we are back at the wedding feast. The king invited everybody, both evil and good. Right?
That's right.
There we are back at the wedding. The king invited everybody, both evil and good. We're at the wedding.
Many were called. That includes the Crusaders. They profess Christ. But few were chosen, just like he said.
So we have the entire church raptured. And if you think about it, if you're using the Exodus as a foreshadow or a type and shadow, then you have to say, well, the whole nation of Israel was rescued. Everybody that had the blood on the door anyway. And there was all kinds of people, both wicked and good, that God took into the wilderness and tested.
That's right.
But initially they were all saved.
Right. They were all children of Abraham. It's just some were the sons of Sarah and some were the sons of Hagar, just like I said. In the Hebrew, it's right there. It calls it the aliens or the sojourners, you know, according to whatever translation you're using. No, it's Hagarim in Hebrew.
Which is
Haman. It is the Hagarim.
Which is Haman.
It is the sons of Hagar.
Oh, okay. I thought you're talking about Egypt, but I was thinking you're talking about Haman.
Yeah, in the Exodus, both the sons of Hagar and the sons of Sarah, or daughters, don't matter. You know, I'm not trying to say that. Oh my goodness, somebody's going to start screaming, women can't be saved. Oh my goodness, I'm not saying that.
Oh my God.
But that's literally the sons of Korah and those that did Korah's rebellion. They are likened to the sons of Hagar. They were sons, but they were not the sons of the promise.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Hagar versus Sarah.
Right. Which is why they.
Gotcha. No, I got you.
The New Testament.
I got you. So the whole church basically is going to be raptured, but that's not a guarantee into heaven. That's a guarantee into the wilderness where God will shield us from the wrath, from his wrath.
Right. Which is exactly why Revelation chapter 12 says that, of course, Satan issues a flood from its mouth to overtake the woman, but exactly the same thing happens to Korah. It says that the earth opens up its mouth, swallows this horde, and of course the Bible's very clear in saying that at that time the earth will no longer cover her slain. So they're literally swallowed up and cast back outside of the place of protection. And of course they'll go straight to get their heads chopped off is what they're going to do.
Oh, but so you're just not only saved from the wrath of God, but the wrath of the beast.
That's right. The earth swallows them up, yet rejects them, because the Bible says the earth will no longer cover its slain, and they will be spewed out, and they will pop up in, of course, the rest of the earth, which, of course, they will immediately be hunted down because they have been sealed by God. They have the mark of God on their foreheads, and they get their heads chopped off, hereby becoming primus resurrectorate. So that will be their place. They will be the Hamsharatim.
So God gives them so many chances, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He gives them chances, right? I mean, till to the point of utter insanity. He gives them chances. They just, they're knuckleheads.
Like it says, he wishes no one should perish. So of course he would give them
Yes.
so many chances for them to get it right.
And he does not delight in the punishment of the wicked.
And finally, he puts it in their lap. Fine. Go deal with the scapegoat. You got a choice, okay? You can either get your head chopped off or not. Now you really can be your own master. You really can be your own lord. It's your choice now.
So at that point, once they're cast out of the place of protection, they can go and get their heads chopped off, or they can join the beast.
That's right.
So they get another chance, like John was saying.
That's right.
Isn't God merciful?
Well, now the Bible probably makes sense to a lot of people. Yes, he literally stumbles over himself trying to give you a chance. But at the end of the day, he's like, fine. Here you had it really good. I gave you manna. You didn't have to work for your food. Fine. If you don't like it, cool. Go out there with the beast and serve him and see if you want to do that. You see, then they will realize how good they had it. Right, Johnny?
Right.
And they'll have the choice. Man, I can have it really good or not. And they'll have the choice.
Yet some of them will die for the testimony of Christ, have their heads chopped off, become the Primus Resurrexorate, and clothed in white raiment and given a place of honor.
Amen.
Well, that's
but
heavy.
But they can never be the bride from that point.
Oh, never,
No,
or
it's
not, or later after the 1,000 years.
Well, yeah, after the 1,000 years, but
Then,
during the reign of Christ, they have to be
servants, servants of the kingdom.
Right, they have to be servants of the kingdom. But yes, after that, after they do their time, see, if you're Primus Resurrexorate, you have to do your time. Your time is 1,000 years,
Of
and
service.
then of course God comes down, and everything's recreated, and you're good. But you don't want to do that, for Pete's sakes.
No.
You want to be the bride.
That's like labor for 1,000 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Natalina, I know you must have a few questions now.
Oh, I find it all terribly fascinating. I
me too.
hadn't really thought about the idea that the rapture would involve the whole of the church, in the sense that even if there were those who were, as you say, the quote bad Christians, that they would be included in that initial rapture. That fascinates me. The rapture is not my strong point. It's not my wheelhouse. I haven't focused a whole lot on the timing thereof, but so I'm just kicking back listening. I'm finding this really interesting.
Right. Well, most people, they call the rapture, of course, what happens at the end, the resurrection. That's where they put it. But they don't realize that the Bible talks about two. Of course, Psalms 18 is very illicit in what it says that you're miraculously given your hinds feet and you walk in your high places. They don't realize that that's when you're translated to the wilderness, the place that's prepared for you by God. So there's actually two what you would call raptures, people. Okay? Michael comes down after he's, declared victorious. He snatches you up. That's the ride of the eagle's wings. Then you have when the other rapture, when everybody gets their resurrected bodies after those in paradise gets theirs and Christ brings them back and everything's hunky-dory for 1,000 years. So there's really two. Okay? You would call that two.
So the first one, just so I can get caught up here, the first rapture that happens where it's the whole of the church, this takes place prior to the wrath of the beast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that literally happens on the last day of the 2,300 days. That's when God comes down, just like he says, he rides the cloud to Egypt. Egypt, of course, is the entire planet. That's why Revelation says that. Figuratively, Egypt and Sodom. He's telling you the same thing. So God rides, of course, to Mount Paran, impacts, kicks us off our axis. Time goes topsy-turvy. We get the ride of the eagle's wings. So yes, exactly. So you don't want to be in the outer darkness for those last 1,260 days, which is going to be comprised of 360-day year and an 18-hour day. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
And is that the
Yeah.
day of the Lord?
Yes. Yes. That's the great day of he who sitteth upon the throne.
Right.
That's when we get kicked off our axis. He takes the Moshim back to heaven with him, and they replace the fallen. Okay?
And you're talking about the 144,000 at that point.
Yes, I'm out of breath. Yes, 144,000.
Because only 144,000 actually get translated instantly to heaven.
That's right.
And that is, where is that on the timeline?
Like I said, that's after time goes topsy-turvy, so I can't tell you where it is on the timeline.
Right, but
It's
Is it
physically
at the
impossible
same-
for me to do so.
is it at the same time of the eagle's wings?
Well, it's a little bit after that because during that time, Michael's fighting. As soon as Michael's done fighting and he wins. Okay, so how long is that? Does it take Michael 2 days to beat him? I don't know. Let's look to Gabriel. You have a hint and a shadow of this. How long did it take him to defeat the
Prince-
bad princes?
Uh,
Let's
21
ask Catalina. Do you remember that?
from Daniel,
Right.
Prince of Persia.
Right.
Can
How
you-
long?
Can you guys?
Yeah, it's a test. Matthew's testing your knowledge of Daniel.
Yes, it's a test.
How long did it take Gabriel to defeat the Prince of Persia and then make his way to Daniel?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
21 days.
Hey, all right.
Right. So it might take 21 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might take longer. I don't know, and that's why I cannot tell you when day one of the 1,260 days are. I can't tell you. Who knows how long it's going to take?
And those 1,260 days aren't our days. They're 18-hour days.
Right.
Wow. So that'll really throw
Sorry,
your most of your timeline guys off. Big time, wouldn't it?
That's right. Here, just imagine this. Right now, this Earth is 21,600 nautical miles roundabout. When the 1,260 days start, we're going to be 24,685 nautical miles in diameter. Okay?
We're going to
I
expand
can't
by
tell-
1/7, you're saying.
That's right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's what the Bible says. So I literally can't tell you because once you have altered our diameter, we speed up in revolutions. I can no longer tell you the hour. I can't.
And if we
Once-
move into the plane of the ecliptic, which reduces our drag through the
Right.
ether, then we also speed up in our orbit around the sun, which changes the length of the year.
Which means I can't tell you the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm
No
sorry.
man
I
knows the
wish I
day or
could tell
the
you,
hour.
but I can't.
And this all starts, Natalina, either, according to Matthew's timeline, either this September 13th or 7 years from now. He
Right.
thinks we
Literally,
may have the...
Here,
Go ahead,
let me
go.
be very plain with you.
Yes, go.
On this timeline, ladies and gentlemen, if you take a look at this on the show notes, I'm going to give Natalina what she is desiring. God is going to impact this planet on March 26th, 2019. That is 1,290 days from Rosh Hashanah, September the 13th, 2015. Okay? I just gave it to you. This is why, when you back off that date, 1,010 days, or the phrase 2 years and under, you get to June 19th, 2016, which is the sign of the strike. It occurs in the heavens. That's when the sun is going to be right on, and it stays there for 3 days. Look it up. That's why Christ was in the belly for 3 days. Look at it. Please look at it. The sun stays on the top of Orion's club for 3 days. It's that exact day when you swing about and look on the other end of the heavens. That's when, of course, Jupiter conjuncts the moon on Ophiuchus's knee. At the same exact day is when the Ophiuchid meteor shower peaks. Same day. Look it up. March 26, 2019. Okay? So, you have all these dates. Let me be very clear. Okay? Let me be very clear. You take Rosh Hashanah 2015. All right? You need to know when the sign of the strike occurs because the Assyrian's going to see it. That takes place on June 19th, 2016. Okay? Exactly 1,010 days from the sign of the strike, which is the sun being on Orion's club and Jupiter conjuncting the moon on Ophiuchus's knee, the same exact day that the Ophiuchid meteor shower takes place. So you have one end of the heavens to the other. Okay? From that day, 1,010 days from there, the great day of He who sits upon the throne is March 26, 2019. Now from there, I can't help you. Because Michael puts these dukes up and we get it on. Okay? So from there, God's already let me know that your diameter's changing and your velocity's changing. Ha ha ha, Matthew. You could have a perfect IQ. I'm laughing at you. Because I've made it so where you cannot calculate the hour, year, or the day, year. So I've given Natalina what she was desiring. I just gave it to her right out in the open for the whole world to see, in hopes that you will repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For the love of all that is holy, stop rebelling against the Lord your God. You need to stop lying. That's why the Bible clearly says in the book of Revelation, no liar will enter the kingdom of heaven. You want to know why? If you're a liar, you're not a Christian. You're a liar, for Pete's sakes. If you're a thief, you can't be a Christian. You can only hold one singular title, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a thief, you're a thief. You're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. You're just not. And whether you like it or not, 2,300 days prior to Rosh Hashanah 2015, the UN declared the land of Israel divided. Look it up. Look it up. It happened on November 29th, and it took them a week to get all the plaques in all the UN buildings changes. Now, if you walk into a UN building that's got multiple floors and you walk up to the elevator scheme, it will say State of Palestine Office. You don't have to like it. I'm just telling you the truth. And I'm here to tell you that's why Comet Ison was obliterated before it rode up Serpentarius's tail straight to Draco. You can get these new programs and bring up Comet Ison's path and watch it. It goes as it goes right up the neck of the great dragon that Ophiuchus, the restrainer, is fighting with. It was going to walk right up the neck straight to Draco. So I don't know how else I can love you. I'm just desperately telling you. No, look, you have to believe me. No liar will enter the kingdom of heaven. No thief. I don't know how to convince you to stop playing the harlot. I just don't. And the best thing he's got you tricked with is all your junk. Do you actually think that all your hopes is in your retirement? Don't you realize that what you're saying is, when I reach 62, I'm going to go build bigger barns? I'm sorry. I'm just... Look, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to see you at the tabernacle of David, and I don't want to see you swallowed up. Because I just told you exactly where you're going. And yeah, man, it'll be cool. You'll be Primus Resurrexit. You'll be able to run around like the host of heaven, issuing out judgments because you haven't brought your tithe to the king. Yeah, man, that's cool. Guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be in the bridal chamber, the bridal chamber, baby, and I'll be kicking it with the king. So, yeah, it'll be cool to have all this authority for 1,000 years. But you're not going to be able to see his face. He's going to... Oh, my goodness. I'm literally going to be playing the part... You have read the Song of Solomon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to be doing. You're going to be out there with all this responsibility. You're going to have to work. I mean, you won't be able to come see the king. If you do, you will be reprimanded because you'll be out of your place. He's going to say, why are you here and not doing your job? So yeah, man, it's cool. But it is better to be the bride. And I don't know how else to convince you that. You need to take this timeline and take those dates and look it up. That's why the great and wondrous sign appears in the heaven on September 23rd, 2017. Do you not realize that's exactly 1 year after? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, that happens exactly... it doesn't matter. All the things that I know about all the signs in there. Don't you people understand that? I knew about those signs decades ago. Where have you heard about the sign of the restrainer? Where have you heard about the sign? Who could tell you why all three pyramid shafts are pointed to the particular stars that they're pointed to? And so I don't know how else to convince you that I'm telling you the truth, man. You can't lie and go to heaven. Yeah. Look. The law is that which God wrote with his own finger. That's the 10 Commandments, okay? And the testimony is how the world knows you're a Christian. You know how that is? It's that by which God's Son, Jesus Christ, lived with his own life. That's the Beatitudes. So it's the law is the 10 Commandments, and the testimony is the Beatitudes. And you better get all this stuff right, because, ladies and gentlemen, let me really scare you. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping this happens as soon as possible. I don't want my retirement. I want my redemption. Okay? I don't want to go to Sturgis every year. I don't want to go blow a bunch of money in Las Vegas. I don't want to go to the Bahamas. I want to enter the kingdom of heaven.
I don't want to be 80 years old.
I don't think we have any hope of that. And I'm sorry, guys, that I had to say it like that. But I look up these things and please investigate them. I'm begging you to. I really am.
Though, I mean, we're all liars and thieves without being aware of it.
Well, that's the problem. There's those of us that are well unaware, and then there's those that do it on purpose, Johnny. That's rebellion.
That's the difference. Yeah.
That's rebellion.
So, as a Christian, you do need to, if the things you're aware of that are open rebellion, you need to ask Jesus to deal with those. I think there's quite a bit of grace given, obviously, but I think, what do you think, Natalina?
Well, I think you're right that all of us have some propensity toward these things that we wouldn't be proud of, especially, in ways that we're not even necessarily aware of. But even more than that, I think, just if we're all being honest, even as born again Christians, we do these things with full knowledge sometimes.
Yeah.
Lying,
Yeah.
thievery, deceit, I'm not exempt from that at all. And it's sobering because it's sobering to consider the fact that we're so grateful for his sacrifice and we're so grateful for his grace, and yet every single day we deny him, we turn our backs, we do our own thing, we take it, we lean on our own understandings. So I do believe, like you said, Johnny, I do believe that probably grace is something beyond anything that we could possibly fathom, because we are all such dirty, rotten scoundrels.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. But at the same time, it is something to consider that there are strong admonitions against such behavior, and there are consequences for such behavior, particularly if it's unrepentant. So, I think one of the strongest things we can do as Christians is be aware of our own shortcomings and, consciously aware of them, and not just repent, but actively try to be obedient. And we're all being worked on daily by the Lord. What was that thing, Johnny, that Marzulli said about we're on God's anvil? I can't remember the exact wording, but it was so beautiful that, he's working us on his anvil every day, bringing us closer and closer to the men and women he wants us to be. But I do think that we have to be active participants in that,
At least active to the point where we're asking Jesus to help us with these things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us
Yeah.
have no power over them of our own flesh. And our only hope is if Jesus works on us supernaturally to deal with these issues.
Yeah. The more I think the longer you are a Christian, the more you become aware of your own sinful nature. Johnny, I feel like this was a conversation you and I had on Facebook at one point, but essentially all of these great evangelists in history that we look back upon and we think, that they were just almost these unblemished figures, and they would all consider themselves, including Paul, the Apostle Paul, would consider themselves the chief of sinners.
Yeah.
The longer you're a Christian and the further along in your walk, the more you look at yourself and say, I am low down, dirty, rotten. You become more aware of your own sin. And I think that maybe that's just part of the Christian evolution toward becoming closer to God, is that the closer you get to God, the more sin is offensive to you.
Yeah, and the more you realize that you have that sin nature, that you realize what you are and what Christ died for, and it hurts.
Yeah. It
right?
does.
It hurts more
It
and
does.
more. I think it was John Wesley, one of the famous evangelists, said, I have evangelized the entire world. Now who will evangelize me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So true. People all the way through history, Jonathan Edwards, Martin Luther, all of these people who strove to do right by God, the closer they got, the more they looked back on their own flesh with disgust because it literally offended them. It doesn't mean that they were without sin, but that their own sin was absolutely magnified in their own eyes, and it made them so much more, that's why someone like the Apostle Paul could say, I am the chief of sinners, because you just look at yourself and you say, this giant blob of flesh is why I need a savior. This is why. Because wow, look at me, you know. It makes it's intense to consider, like, the absolute need for a savior, because man, I can't do this alone. I am kind of a jerk, you know, to put it somewhat lightly. But you know what I'm saying? That it becomes so profound to you, that you have this conscious awareness of it. So your prayer life kind of changes to where it used to always be, forgive me for this, forgive me for that. You know, now all of a sudden it's, Lord, forgive me and help me to be strong enough to resist doing it again.
Right. Because I don't know, I can't speak for anybody but myself, but my own sin has become heartbreaking to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Matthew?
Well, I've talked way too much. What about John?
Yeah, I totally get you. Totally. Every day when I go to work or do what I do, sometimes I'll catch myself slipping and saying dumb things that I know I shouldn't be, and that I can't stand it. When I catch myself, I just can't stand it. I always try and ask for forgiveness, but I know I've already been forgiven. I try and ask for the help, because we can try as much as we can, but we'll always fall short. It's just so hard.
I know I'm forgiven. I find myself, after 30 years of walking with Jesus, simply asking for mercy.
Mm-hmm.
God, have mercy on us. Have mercy on me. And strengthen us. You know, I'm not like Matthew. I can't scare you because I'm some of the things Matthew is talking about. You know, I try not to lie or cheat or steal, but once in a while I do, not even really aware of it. But then I catch myself. Oh, I just lied. Oh, I just stole something. Maybe not out and out stealing, but, you know, when you take too long of a break at work, I guess you're stealing from the company, right? You know?
Yeah.
Things like
just
that.
Small little things. I think we need to always be aware of every little detail, you know, just like God's aware of every detail. I think we have to be aware of every detail in our own lives, you know.
At the same time,
strive for better.
Yeah, let's strive for better. At the same time, we can't let those things defeat us.
Oh, yeah.
We have to lean on Jesus and count on his mercy and grace.
I've got a good idea.
What?
Why don't I read Psalm 17 so everybody knows how they're going to be feeling right before the great day of he who sits upon the throne?
Okay.
Yes, please.
All right, let's do that. Ladies and gentlemen, this psalm right here is so you'll know what to look for and how you're going to be feeling. And you'll take note that at the end, yes, it finishes with, of course, the babes. So, because of this prayer by the bride is why the riders have been unleashed. Okay? So, let's have a look and see. Because after this time, of course, the world's fallen apart. We're in a Great Depression. We're also in a world famine. All the many terrible things that the writers were going to do is done. And this is, look at this as what the daughters of Zion is going to pray on day 1289. This is what this is all about. Hear a just cause, O Lord. Give heed to my cry. Give ear to my prayer, which is not from deceitful lips. Let my judgment come forth from your presence. Let your eyes look with equity. You have tried my heart. You have visited me by night. You have tested me and found nothing. I have purposed that my mouth will not transgress. As for the deeds of men, by the word of your lips, I have kept the paths of violence. My steps have held fast to your paths. My feet have not slipped. I have called upon you, for you will answer me, O God. Incline your ear to me hear my speech. Wondrously show your loving kindness, a savior of those who take refuge at your right hand from those who rise up against them. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked who despoil me. My deadly enemies who surround me, they have closed their unfeeling heart with their mouth. They speak proudly. And they have now surrounded us in our steps. They set their eyes to cast us to the ground. He is like a lion that is eager to tear, as a young lion lurking in hiding places. Arise, O Lord, comfort him, bring him low. Deliver my soul from the wicked with your sword. From men with your hand, O Lord. From men of the world, whose portion is this life, and whose belly fill with your treasure. They are satisfied with children, and leave their abundance to their babes. As for me, I shall hold your face in righteousness. I will be satisfied with your likeness when I awake. This finishes why the New Agers, and I'm sure Natalina caught on to that, that's why the Lord speaks here about the awakening, because it's certainly on the great day of He who sits upon the throne that you will be truly awakened. But you'll take note that these first 40 weeks, as the writers are writing, what happens to, of course, the daughters of Zion is they pray for a son just like Samuel. The answer to that prayer is, of course, the ensuing 1,010 days. So that's why this chapter was written. And if you go to the next chapter, it, of course, is a timeline in of itself. It progresses to the next stage. And that's why here you, of course, catch the ride of the eagle's wings. And you also see the Crusaders. The Crusaders are there in the wilderness, and, of course, they're betraying them. That's exactly what it said. These people have surrounded them. Their bellies are full. Of course, they get their inheritance. He even described it here in this translation as worldly. He's literally talking about the worldly Christians there. So this is why this chapter was written. So please take note of the next chapter, chapter 18, because it's the answer to this prayer. So that was a good way to end this, if there's no more questions. So, Johnny?
Yeah, I can't think of any more. Okay, let's hang it up. And Natalina?
No, good stuff. Thank you for including me, and thank you for all that you're doing. I'm really you have a lot of food for thought now.
Yeah, this has been mind-opening, mind-expanding, and so giving us a lot to think about, guys. A lot to think about this whole timeline thing and this whole new take on the rapture, new for me anyway. So a lot to ponder, a lot to kick around in your head, a lot to kick around in your mind, a lot to kick around in your spirit. New concepts, new ideas for most of us. So I guess I'm just going to walk us out with a little Johnny Rainbow. All right. I want to thank Bruce Collins. The Iron Show is on the Fringe Radio Network at the behest of Bruce Collins. I want to thank Natalina for joining us tonight. I want to thank Janine Hess. I want to thank John Gomez. And most of all, I want to thank Matthew Miller. Oh, yeah, baby. All right. I want to thank producer Rick for making this all possible. The Iron Show is streaming on the Fringe Radio Network servers. We're live on Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher. Boy, you name it, we're all over. You can even call in on your phone. So if you're like all alone with no internet connection and a landline, you can actually get the phone number and call in and listen, or tell your grandpa to listen, because you know he's at least got a telephone. So get the number to him. Go to FringeRadioNetwork.com. Find that phone number. Find when we're going to be live. And tell Grandpa and Grandma to listen in on their telephone. All right. I want to thank Peter Goodgame and Dr. Future for early inspiration. I want to thank Gons and Basil. I want to from Canary Cry. and Natalina again for helping to raise the money for my teeth. And I will have them soon. At least I'll be able to wear them. Remember, till next time, Johnny loves you.